Good morning, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. You know, the dollar is stronger than anybody ever gives it credit for. And I'm not a fan of the dollar. I'm not a fan of the Fed. I'm not a fan of the whole banking system and what happens from it. But when you're giving blame in the wrong direction, I'm not a fan of that either. The dollar is a strong currency. People just don't give it enough credit. And now when you hear all these people out there in the news, on YouTube, screaming about how the dollar is going to fail, it's going to lose its world reserve currency status, it's a worthless currency, it's depreciating, it's like all the stuff that you hear out there. Very rarely do you find anybody who is saying you're giving it the wrong blame, right? And that's exactly what has taken place right now. Look at some of the articles that I leave down in the description for you guys. Think about like all the stuff that you heard about how Russia and India and China and all these people are going to do their bilateral trades and they're going to get out of the dollar and they don't want dollars. And then look what happens. They abandon the whole idea of trading outside of the dollar. They use dollars. Even when they didn't want to and they were actively trying not to, Russia took the currency of whatever country they got it from and converted it to dollars. Everybody wants dollars. People say that the United States is going to go massively into debt and they're going to fall under the weight of their own debt structure. And here the Treasury, for the first time in 23 years, has announced that they're going to actually buy back some of those treasuries. Whoa. Really? You're paying off your debt? I mean, granted, we've got a lot of it to pay off, so, might as well do a little bit of it. But it's actually occurring. Or supposedly will occur. The Federal Reserve is mandated to do two things. Low and stable prices and full employment. Well, right now, we have an additional 265,000 jobs that have added to the market. The unemployment is low. Prices, although high, are starting to peak out and come down. The Federal Reserve is trying to achieve their dual mandate. That means interest rates will stay elevated for a significant amount of time. Unless unemployment rises or the prices come down, those interest rates aren't going anywhere. These are the things that I think about. These are the things that I consider when I look out there and I hear people talking about how everything is going to fail and everything is going in a direction that doesn't seem to appear to be what I feel is going to go. And when I make my statements out there, people tell me I don't know anything. That somehow I misunderstand how the operation works. I think about it out there. I see people making lifelong decisions. And they are completely misguided. And I think to myself, I wonder how that happens. Is it because of just the direction of information that they get? Is it not broad enough? Is it because they just don't think for themselves? I wonder these things because I look out there and I think, how is it so obvious to me, but yet nobody seems to talk about these things that I talk about? Why do I sound so much differently than everybody else? And then again, maybe I don't sound that differently from everybody else. Because I really don't listen to anybody else. I just pick up the information as I hear it. I put it in conjunction with all the rest of the information that I have acquired. And I form my own thoughts, my own opinions. A lot of people tell me that I really don't understand, a lot of this stuff. And then yet here it all occurs in the way that I say it was going to. Now, I didn't get everything right, but I find myself to be more accurate than not. Especially when it comes to the distribution network, supply chains, the lumber industry. There's nobody who called out the lumber industry as well as I did. Nobody. And I don't mean to brag on that. It's just the way it was. I mean, every single day I was doing research, calling everybody I could possibly think of who knew anything about lumber and the distribution of lumber and the milling of lumber and the cutting down of logs and the distribution of logs. You know, I was calling people and talking to people from Canada to Georgia. You know, I mean, I knew the lumber industry. I knew what was happening. I could feel it. I could see it. You know, just plain as day. And everybody had their ideas. You know, all these news articles coming out. I'm shaking my head. I'm going, how is it they could possibly even say this? Do they not know? No, they don't. Right? They didn't know. And so when I see people out there talking, you know, I don't care who they are. I mean, I don't care how smart and how much credit they have. Right? I mean, if it doesn't jive with my beliefs, I'm not changing my beliefs. I don't care how smart they are. This is the way I feel about it. You know, it's amazing to find some of the changes that are now starting to take place. Like just the simple idea that Russia converts their money to dollars, that the India-Russia bilateral trade has pretty much been done in dollars. I mean, there is trade going on in rupees or rubles or whatever, but it still ends up being in dollars at the end of the day, whether they eventually convert it to dollars or they just did the deal in dollars anyway. But that's what's starting to occur, or not starting. That's what is occurring. What's starting to occur is the attempt to try and use something else. It doesn't work very well. And I knew it wouldn't. I knew it wouldn't work. Right? I know it wasn't going to work because everybody else in the world doesn't want rupees. Nobody wants rubles. Nobody trusts China. Right? Someday they might, but they don't right now. Everybody trusts the dollar. I mean, you think about it. Even in nations that are attempting to get out of using dollars, their people themselves go and pull dollars out of the system and put it in their house, put mattress money, you know, bury it under the mattress. And these are U.S. dollars, not their local currency. Right? I'll leave a couple articles for that. It was Bolivia. Somebody had sent me an article or a couple of articles on that one. I was going to do a video just on that, but you know, it fits in here, so. You know, this is what happens. When the people get worried, the dollar is the safe haven. I mean, is it safe? No, probably not, but that's where people go. It's because it's safer than anything else out there. And the closer you get to war, the stronger the dollar is going to get. The more people get nervous and the more they want to get into the dollar. You know, this is what's happening. The more dollar debt destruction you see, that is a tightening up of liquidity. That is destruction of dollars and the strengthening of dollars. People get stuck on this idea that the dollar is on a one-way street to failure. Like it's not volatile or something like that. That's not the case. Not the case at all. I mean, eventually it will fail, but it's not a direct path down. And that's where I think a lot of people are misunderstanding how the system is really going to operate. You know, over the next few years, we're going to see a tightening up of the liquidity, and it's going to be very, very painful. People are not going to be quite understanding how the system is doing this or why it's going on, because they're going to feel this pain and want to blame administrations. They're going to want to blame other countries. They're going to want to blame situations, all this stuff, but they're not going to actually look at it as economic forces at play. You know, I mean, this is one of the reasons why I bring it up so often about, like, you can look at politics look at economics from politics and jive these two together, and they mix so well. Right? I mean, you can put these two together and talk all day about it, right? But at the end of it, I look at it as economic forces at play, regardless if politics are involved or not, because politics are more interacting with the economy. They're not forcing the economy. They're not making the economy. They're not doing any of that. Economic forces are at play regardless of politics. If the government wasn't there, economic forces would still be at play, no matter what. And that's the thing that we really should understand, is that how do these economic forces work? Why is China losing their manufacturing right now? Why is it peaking out and starting to slow dramatically? Right? It's slowing down dramatically, and their people are going to be unemployed. I mean, how is it that Cantillon can talk about this in his essay from 200 years ago, and people say this is a political event that's taking place today? Right? I mean, it's just, it's, when we look at these things, we have to really look at it objectively from many points of view. And that way you can really understand it for what it is, not for what people are wanting you to believe it is. You know? I mean, people want me to believe all kinds of stuff. People wanted me to believe that I was wrong about the inflation scenario, and I'm stuck to my, I stuck to what I believe. I don't care what other people believe. That's not important to me, what other people believe. I mean, their opinion's important, their story that they're telling is important. I mean, they have stuff that's important that they have to say, but if it's in a disagreement with me, that's not, that part is not important. It shouldn't be important if somebody disagrees with me. And that's not what's important. What's important is the information that you have gathered that you're going to use for your life and to benefit and push you through this world. That's what's important, not somebody else's opinion out there. I mean, you think about it. They have a whole different position that they're looking at things from, right? And from that position, you could probably gather a lot of information from that. But they don't know you. They don't know where you're from. They don't know what your goals and ambitions in life is like. So all this stuff is really up to you to figure out. And that's really what this channel and really studying the economy is all about, is just that. So take a look at these articles that I leave down in the description and think about some of the things that have happened. Think about some of the things that I have said and I've stuck to on this channel. I mean, again, I'm not a fan of the Federal Reserve. I'm not a fan of the U.S. dollar. I'm not a fan of fiat currency. I'm not a fan of any of that stuff. But when you're pushing blame in the wrong direction, that I'm not a fan of either. Right? So I'm not a defender of the dollar by any means, but give credit where credit is due and push blame in the right direction. The dollar is going to be much stronger than anybody ever anticipated. Right. Uneducated Economist, you let me know.